In this video I will show you a gambit that is quite enjoyable and the opponent is not familiar with this gambit. If you're playing in a low ELO, the opponents may not understand what's going on and might get checkmated quickly. The game starts with e4 e5. Then, we play f4. We start the game with the King's Gambit accepted variant when the opponent takes the pawn. Now, we are developing the knight to f3 square. In this position, the opponent can make many moves. However, a considerable number of them play pawn to g5. We are playing h4 here to encourage our opponent to attack our knight. The opponent tends to play the move we want. Here we will trap our knight on purpose. As you can see, the knight has no escape squares. The opponent is most likely playing the move h6 here. Yes, we are sacrificing the knight here. The opponent takes the knight and gives up the right to castle. Now, we develop our bishop into play by delivering a check to the opponent's king. In this position, the opponent usually retreats their king to the main square. We capture the free pawn with our queen. This position commonly sees moves like d5 and knight f6. First, let's analyze d5. Here the opponent attacks both of our pieces. We play queen to h5, delivering a check to the king. The most common move is king to e7. Now we check the king once more and at the same time attack the opponent's rook. The opponent is most likely to play bishop to e6 to block the check. Now, we capture the opponent's pawn with our pawn. If the opponent wishes to exchange queens here, we take the rook, and after the pieces are exchanged, we end up in a very favorable position. Let's go back and analyze the king to d7. Check. Here the only move that extends mate is bishop to e6. Now check once again. In this position checkmate is inevitable, no matter where the king moves. Let's go back and analyze knight to f6. Check. The only move the opponent can make, king to e7. Attacking the opponent's knight with a pawn. The most common move is d5. Additionally, this move is the most reasonable in this position. In the other moves, white side checkmates black side, but most likely the correct move is not found. Now, capturing the opponent's knight with our queen. After the opponent moves their king to the starting square, we give a check with the bishop. The opponent will likely block with their pawn. We will then capture the opponent's rook. After the exchanges, we end up in a much better position. What if the opponent plays king to d7 move instead of king to e8? Let's analyze that. First, we check the opponent's king with a pawn, and after the king moves, we advance the pawn to put the opponent's king in check with our queen. When the check is blocked with the queen, we promote the pawn to a queen and check the king again. Most likely, the opponent will try to block with a bishop and this position is an easy win for white. In this position, there are many winning variations, but I want to show one of the most beautiful ones. First, we capture the pawn with the bishop. When the opponent's king captures our bishop, we develop the knight and check the king. If the opponent goes to c5, we will checkmate the opponent in 5 moves with a queen sacrifice. Now we play queen to b5, and the only escape square for the king is d4. Next, we move the knight to e2, delivering a check. The opponent's king has only one square to escape, and now we play d3 check, forcing the opponent to sacrifice their queen. Finally, we checkmate the opponent with a pawn. We have analyzed the two most common moves, d5 and knight to f6. In this position, the best move is queen to f6, but only 24% of players have found this move. Before analyze that move, let's examine the move queen to e7. There's no need to analyze other moves as the opponent either loses the game in 1 or 2 moves. We capture the opponent's knight with our bishop. If the opponent attempts to check with their queen by capturing the pawn here, we will move our king to the d1 square. At this point, the opponent's queen and king are in the same file. Players with ratings between 400 and 1600 on Lichess might overlook the opportunity to move their king or queen to a different file, allowing us to capture the opponent's queen. In this position, without realizing that the bishop is unprotected, 18% of the total black moves involve playing d6 and d5. Here, we capture the opponent's bishop and check the king with our queen. The only move for the opponent to block the check is to use the queen. Now, we check the opponent with our bishop. If the opponent doesn't take the bishop, it will result in checkmate. If they capture the bishop, they will lose their queen. Lastly, let's analyze the opponent's best move, queen to f6. Here, we cannot capture the opponent's knight with the bishop because the opponent can play h5, and after that, we won't be able to protect our bishop. Instead, the best move here is d5. It may seem like the opponent can capture with the queen on d5, but in that case, we can capture their knight with the bishop since they can no longer kick our queen with h5. Therefore, let's take a look at the opponent's most played move, knight to c6. In this position, we attack the opponent's queen with our pawn. If the opponent wants to exchange queens, we can capture the free pawn with our queen since we are behind in material. If the opponent captures our undefended pawn, the game will end quickly in our favor. Generally, if the opponent finds the move queen to f6, they play in a better position than us, but this advantage is not a significant one. As a result, this gambit offers a high potential for gaining an advantage, allowing you to checkmate your opponent quickly. Feel free to comment the openings you'd like to see, and if you enjoyed the video, you can like it and subscribe to the channel to stay informed about similar videos and, moreover, make me happy too.